Rangers defeat the Pittsburgh Penguins by a score of 6-0. This was a very dominant performance by the Rangers as this was the third game in really a week against Pittsburgh. So, kind of a mini playoff series. And what I found very impressive is that you don't normally see towards the latter end the differential becoming increased. Usually, teams know each other's tendencies, especially when you consider the fact that this was a 7-game series in last year's playoffs, and that the games would be tight. And then this one ends up being a 6-0 game. And is that a little misleading? Yes. Igor Shesterkin is a huge story in this game. He makes all 33 saves, and he was really good. And really, that first period, the Rangers were shaky. The Rangers came out of the first 2-0. They really shouldn't have. But then in the second period, they took it to Pittsburgh. They were the better team in the second period, and they outscored them 4-0. Look, the Rangers are simply better than the Pittsburgh Penguins. That much we know. And last year, that was somewhat debatable. I mean, during the regular season, I think the Rangers showed that they were definitely better than the Penguins. But during the playoffs, look, Pittsburgh really took it to the Rangers, but they came back and had resolve and won. Now you think about this year, and in the 4 games they played, of course, the 3 in really less than a week, the Rangers proved again, and even more so, that they're better. And Pittsburgh's, they're a team that is kind of on the decline. And they are in, especially after these 2 losses to the Rangers, they're in a tight race with the New York Islanders and Florida Panthers. In all likelihood, 2 of those 3 teams are going to get in. It's basically 3 teams, 2 spots. And look, Pittsburgh going into this week with the Rangers was looking like they would, pretty safely have one of those spots. Now it's totally up in the air. And part of that is because they lost to Montreal after they beat the Rangers in Pittsburgh. But for the Rangers, they win, technically they win the season series. They split the 4 games, but the Rangers did get that extra point in the Sunday Pittsburgh game. But there's just a lot to like right now. Shesterkin has been excellent lately, and that was a big question mark. So Igor gets his second shutout of the season, but this was really the best game that Igor has played all year. And that's the thing, in a 6-0 game, it can get lost, but to me, he was unequivocally the number 1 star of this game. And that's not a small thing. Obviously, tomorrow night, Rangers are going to face a desperate Nashville Predator team, who they lost to at Nashville early in the season, and it'll be Jarl Halak in goal. The intensity and the atmosphere definitely won't be quite as strong as these Pittsburgh games, but I still expect the Rangers, because they're playing so well, I would expect them to keep it up, but we'll see how that game goes. But as far as this one, it's the same lineup, and Ryan Lindgren is out for a 10th straight game. And so for Lindgren, like I've said, clearly he's very close, but there's also no need to rush him back. And it could have been as simple as, well, it's a back-to-back. And do we want to bring him back in and have him play 2 nights in a row? Now, that only answers it if he plays against Nashville tomorrow, which I keep on thinking he's going to come back. He actually seems extremely close. So we'll see. But like I've said, no need to rush him back. Rangers are playing well without him. The most important thing is health at this point. As far as the standings update, there is no chance that the Rangers will finish below 3rd in the Metro. The Rangers are now 12 points out of the Penguins. There is no chance that they will finish below 3rd. They will not be a wild card team. The only question now, and I still think it's unlikely, is as we speak now, the Rangers are 5 points behind the Devils, and they have 1 more game with New Jersey at the Prudential Center. So, if you win that regulation, then that's 3 down. That's 3 points down with what would be, you take that game away, what would that be, 11 games? No, sorry, it'd be more than that, it'd be 12. Because both the Rangers and the Devils have 13 games left. So that's kind of that's me giving you a best case scenario, where the Rangers are able, which they easily might not. But, in order to make this happen, they'd have to win that game. But look, the Rangers also have a say in what happens with Carolina, as the Rangers play Carolina this week as well. So that still is to be determined. But as far as this game is concerned, the Mika Zibanejad line again was really, really good. And You just see the chemistry building between Tarasenko and Zibanejad, and even Panarin. I mean, we think about Artemi Panarin. Obviously, he's been a Ranger now. This is 4 seasons, but he hasn't really played a whole lot with Zibanejad. Obviously, Panarin was with Strome for the most part, and then this year, Trocheck earlier. But what he's done with Zibanejad lately has been pretty good. And the special teams has been good too. A Ranger penalty kill that was struggling for a while has, I think, killed off 22 of its last 24 power plays. So the special teams is better. The Rangers scored a pretty big power play goal at the end of the first period. So that's been good to see. And just overall, they weren't playing well, but then they had that break. They had that break where they lost to Boston, and you had the trade deadline, and you had all these cap ramifications. The Rangers were playing a few players short, and look, it was a little bit rusty in terms of the Montreal game, the Buffalo game, but I feel like the end of that Pittsburgh game was really when things turned a bit. And they carried it into Washington. The first period was great, and in the last two Pittsburgh games they played really well, really well. Is 6-0 really what it was? Probably not, but nonetheless, the Rangers really showed what they're all about. So this game starts off, and first period, Pittsburgh looks pretty good, but it's early. But the Rangers take a 1-0 lead, and it's Mika Zibanejad, who not only has he been scoring a lot lately, he's been scoring early goals, a lot of early first period goals for Zibanejad. So Mika scores his 36th goal of the season from Trouba and Miller at 5:10, and then there's a too many men in the ice penalty on Pittsburgh at 6:01. Rangers power play is unsuccessful at that point. But then at 18:56, Evgeny Malkin, sort of, and we've seen this with Malkin where he just kind of loses his cool. He boards Braden Schneider. And so this leads to a Ranger power play, and with 10 seconds left in the period, maybe a little bit more than 10, maybe 11 seconds, Artemi Panarin scores a power play goal. So it was, I guess, somewhat reminiscent, although, different part of the ice, but in terms of Panarin's power play goal versus Tristan Jarry last year to clinch the series, but this is different, but it kind of reminded me of it just slightly. Panarin scores his 21st goal of the season, assisted by Adam Fox. So the Rangers take a 2-0 lead at the end of the first. We go to the second period. In the second, the Rangers really, it was impressive because Pittsburgh could have came out there and continued to. Pittsburgh was the better team in the first period. As far as I was concerned, at the very least, it was a draw, but I'd say Pittsburgh was probably more impressive, and Igor was making great saves. But in the second period, the Rangers come out firing, and it's a goal for Vlad Tarasenko. It's Tarasenko's 5th goal as a Ranger, his 15th goal overall in the season, assisted by Zibanejad and Miller. It was a 3-on-1. Nice little pass by Zibanejad, and Tarasenko just fires it past Jarry, and the Rangers take a 3-0 lead. Then Vinny Trocheck takes a penalty at 4:35. The Rangers kill that off. And then right after that's over, the Rangers take a 4-0 lead. And it's Chris Kreider. Kreider scores his 31st goal of the season from Kane and Trocheck. And so that line also is getting better. The top two lines, they look pretty good right now. And again, I think the key to that is really Panarin and Kane being apart, although they do connect later on. So that's not entirely true, but I do like the combinations here. We've seen Kreider and Trocheck work well together. And so Kreider scores here. Really nice pass by Patrick Kane. And the Rangers take a 4-0 lead. And then Tristan Jarry's out at that point, right? Yeah, Jarry is out. Casey DeSmith is in, and it didn't get any better for Casey DeSmith initially. As Jacob Trouba, who has really been playing better. And I thought tonight that the Miller-Trouba pair was pretty good. So, whereas I've complained about them at points, Miller-Trouba pair was good tonight. And Jacob Trouba scores his 8th goal of the season. So even, the offense is now starting to show up for Trouba. And it's a goal by Jacob Trouba from Tarasenko and Zibanejad. So that is Zibanejad's 3rd point of the night. And the Rangers take a 5-0 lead. Then Igor Shesterkin takes a delay game penalty at 10:17 just to make things interesting, but the Rangers kill it off. And then there's another penalty on the Rangers as Chris Kreider trips Jake Gensel at 14:07. Again, the penalty kill does a nice job. And then after the Rangers kill it off, It is Artemi Panarin scoring his second goal of the night, his 22nd goal of the season from Kane and Hedl. So give Kane a couple of assists. And this was just a post penalty kill trio. And again, I like the idea of Hedl with Panarin, but I don't think we're going to see it as much as I'd want to. But it was a really great pass by Kane, finds a wide open Panarin backdoor, and the Rangers take a 6-0 lead. And they would win by that score. In the third period, there were some penalties, Dumoulin high stick stroke check. Then, as that's about to expire, Goodrow high sticks Chad Ruedel. Jeff Carter takes a penalty, and at 10:33, similarly again, Goodrow takes his second penalty of the period, trips Josh Archibald. Goodrow trying to mess up Shesterkin's shutout, but he didn't. But a really nice effort for the Rangers, and what was good again, and it helps when it's a blowout. The ice time distribution, where the really all 12 forwards, it was all around the same in ice time. The lowest was 11 minutes and 36 seconds from Goodrow, and part of that is because he took 2 penalties. And the highest was 17:42 Trocheck. And part of that was because Goodrow was, I believe, Trocheck was killing penalties where he probably normally wouldn't have been. So you love to see that. And then defensively as well. Keandre Miller played a good amount, 22:55, but again, evenly distributed. And that especially helps when the Rangers are playing tomorrow night versus the Nashville Predators. And this will be a Nashville team that's coming off of a really tough loss. They lost at home in overtime to Winnipeg, who they're trying to chase that last playoff spot. So on the one hand, Nashville might be a little bit demoralized. That's possible. On the other hand, it should be a desperate team. Because Nashville, their playoff hopes are still alive, but they definitely took a little bit of a hit with that tough loss against Winnipeg. So, I'm curious to see how it begins. I could see a bit of a sort of quiet start, but I think the Rangers are in such a good groove right now that I'd expect them to play well. And of course, and in front of Jarl Halak, who, had a tough loss, played well, but had a tough loss versus Pittsburgh last week. I'm sure they'll try to get him the win, and we'll see what happens. But the Rangers are winning games, they're getting points, and so now, since that mini break, they are 5-0-1. Right, they beat Montreal, beat Buffalo, lost in overtime to Pittsburgh, and then beat Washington and Pittsburgh twice. So 5-0-1 in the last 6 games. It's good to see. I mean, when this team is running on all cylinders, they're pretty dangerous. So, yeah, Rangers really just take care of the Pittsburgh Penguins. They destroy them. They beat them at MSG 2 games in a row, and this one it's an Igor Shesterkin shutout, 33 saves. The Rangers win 6-0.